From beautiful Davis, California, I'm James Lee Jobe, reading you some poems from Ghalib. Mirza Ghalib lived from 1797 to 1869. He was born to a Turkish family that lived in India. He was a Muslim, but he loved wine. And he was quite a rakish fellow, given to loud clothes and drinking wine late at night. His favorite way to work in writing his poems was to stay up late at night, late into the wee hours of the morning, drinking wine. And every time he'd think of a stanza, he'd tie a knot in his sash. And in the morning, after he'd slept and woke up, he would untie the sash knot by knot and write down each stanza then. Kind of an interesting way to work, I suppose. He had kind of a rakish life. He drank wine all the time. He gambled. He was a favorite in the emperor's court. The emperor used to have these regular poetry readings, and Ghalib became very famous, even though his poems were considered rather difficult. He had many debts with wine cellars. In 1857, in Delhi, India, there was an uprising against the British, and the British brought in many people and questioned them, famous people, important people, and most of them came in dressed in very formal wear, very sober clothing. Ghalib came in wearing red and yellow and a pointy hat. And the colonel in charge asked him, "Are you a Muslim?" And he said, "Half a Muslim. I don't eat pork, but I drink plenty of wine." So let's have some poems from Ghalib. When the day comes. One can sigh, but a lifetime is needed to finish it. We'll die before we see the tangles in your hair loosened. There are dangers in waves, and all those crocodiles with their jaws open. The drop of water goes through many difficulties before it becomes a pearl. Love requires waiting, but desire doesn't want to wait. The heart has no patience. It would rather bleed to death. I know you will respond when you understand the state of my soul, but I'll probably become earth before all that is clear to you. When the sun arrives, the dew on the petal passes through existence. I am also me, until your kind eye catches sight of me. How long is our life? How long does an eyelash flutter? The warmth of a poetry gathering is like a single spark. Oh, Ghalib, the sorrows of existence, how can one cure them but death? There are so many colors in the candle flame, and then the day comes. This is called the clay cup. If King Jamsed's diamond cup breaks, that's it. But my clay cup I can easily replace, so it's better. The delight of giving is deeper when the gift hasn't been demanded. I like the God seeker who doesn't make a profession of begging. When I see God, color comes into my cheeks. God thinks, this is a bad mistake, that I'm in good shape. When a drop falls in the river, it becomes the river. When a deed is done well, it becomes the future. I know that heaven doesn't exist, but the idea is one of Ghalib's favorite fantasies, the clay cup. And this is leftovers in the cup. With all the wine the boy drinks, cups feature prominently here. Leftovers in the cup. For my weak heart, this living in the sorrow house is more than enough. The shortage of rose-colored wine is also more than enough. I'm embarrassed, otherwise I'll tell the wine server that even the leftovers in the cup are, for me, enough. No arrow comes flying in. I'm safe from hunters. The comfort level I experience in this cage is more than enough. I don't see why the so-called elite people are so proud when the ropes of custom that tie them down are clear enough. It's hard for me to distinguish sacrifice from hypocrisy, when the greed for reward in pious actions is obvious enough. Leave me alone in the Zamzam well. I won't circle the Kaaba. The wine stains on my robe are already numerous enough. If we can't resolve this, today will be the last day. She is not willing, and my desire is more than strong enough. The blood of my heart is the blood of my heart has not completely exited through my eyes. Oh, death, let me stay a while. The work we have to do is abundant enough. It's difficult to find a person who has no opinion about Ghalib. He's a good poet, but the dark rumors about him are more than enough. This is called My Destiny. Ghalib liked wine and poetry. I like coffee and poetry. My destiny. My destiny did not include reunion with my friend. He's talking about God. Rumi, Kabir, Mirabai wrote of their connection to God. Ghalib often spoke of his failure to connect. My destiny does not include reunion with my friend. Even if I lived 100 years, this failure would be the same. Your promise determined my life, but it was not believable. If I had believed it, I would have died of joy anyway. What kind of friendship is it when friends give advice? I wish they knew healing or simple, ordinary sympathy. I wish that they knew healing or simple, ordinary sympathy. Heart sorrow eventually kills us, but that's the way the heart is. If there were no love, life would have done the trick. This night of separation, whom can I tell about it? I think death would be better, because at least it doesn't repeat. Your hesitation indicates that the thread you have tied is weak. You would never have broken the thread had it been strong. Ask my heart sometime about your arrow shot from a loose bow. It would not have hurt so much if it had actually gone through. Rocks are hard, so they don't cry. But if your pain were genuine, Ghalib, it would make even rocks cry. After my death, my reputation worsened. Maybe if I had just drowned in a river and had no tomb, they would have let Ghalib alone. There's still a little more on this one. This great one, who can possibly see her? She is this one. With just a hint of two, we might have achieved a meeting. Your talk about spiritual matters is great, O Ghalib. You could have been thought of as a sage, if only you didn't drink all the time. Questions. This is called questions. Since nothing actually exists except you, then why do I keep hearing all this noise? These magnificent women with their beauty around me, their side glances, their eyebrows. How does all that work? What is it? These palm trees and these tulips, where did they come from? What purpose do they serve? What are clouds and wind? We hope for faithfulness and loyalty from people, but people don't have the faintest idea what loyalty is. Good rises from good actions, and that is good. Beyond that, what else do saints and good people say? I'm willing to give up my breath and my life for you, even though I don't know the first thing about sacrifice. The abundant objects of the world mean nothing at all. But if the wine is free, how could Ghalib hang back? Okay, we're going to finish with don't skimp with me today. Skimp. Don't skimp with me today. For tomorrow's sake, Don't skimp with me on wine today. For tomorrow's sake, don't skimp with me on wine today. A stingy portion implies a suspicion of heaven's abundance. The horse of life is galloping. We'll never know the stopping place. Our hands are not touching the reins, nor our feet the stirrups. I keep a certain distance from the reality of things. It's the same distance between me and utter confusion. The seen, the one looking, and the ability to see are all the same. The seen, the one looking, and the ability to see are all the same. If that's so, why am I confused about what's in front of me? The greatness of a river depends on what it shows to us. If we separate it into bubbles and waves, we are lost. She is not free from her ways to increase her beauty. The mirror she sees is on the inside of her veil. What we think is obvious is so far beyond our comprehension. We are still dreaming, even when we dream we're awake. We're still dreaming, even when we dream that we're awake. From the smell of my friend's friend, I get the smell of my friend. Listen, Ghalib, you are busy worshiping God's friend. Mirza Ghalib, 1797 to 1869. One of the greatest poets of the 19th century from the other side of the world. I'm James Lee Jobe, here in Davis, California. Thank you for joining me.